Get that started. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Today we're going to go over some of how Roxen looks for the entirety of the workflow. And I do have the questions that you all sent me, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. And I know that more questions will come up as I go through this here. So please interrupt me if I'm not being clear. Just a couple of things before that. One is any of you who are grabbing things from Adobe stock, remember that premium images are not included in our plan. And our the number of credits we have restarts on the 10th of the month. And so like right now we've already run out of credits. So if you need something, you have to use something we've already downloaded for something else. We have kind of a limited number of credits in there. So if you're using that, make sure that you check things that we've already downloaded first before you download something else. I also have some NDNA winners. NDNA sends out the list of who won, but doesn't say what anyone won. So I don't know what was won here, but Becca and Mary won something for, no, is it? I can't read my handwriting. It might be Marcy instead of Mary. Sorry. For Fargo. For Jamestown, Alex, Paula, Becca, Cindy, and Aaron won something. For Dickinson, Marcy and Megan. For Grand Forks, Alex, Danny, Mark, Becca, Megan, Tanner, and Joey all won awards. So that award ceremony is not until it's like the end of May. So we won't know for a while exactly what was won, but congratulations to all of you who won something. It's always nice to get a little certificate that tells you that other people know that you're awesome. So, okay, I am just going to share this here. So, okay, so this is just like a test thing in Brightspot. I know that some of you are not familiar with Brightspot. Don't panic. So things in Brightspot will be set up as usual. You know, if there's, subheads, if there's pulled quotes, photos, bold, anything like that, bulleted lists will be set up as normal. Print options, again, will be set up as normal. We're looking into right now if we can have some more things added into the print options to make things a little bit easier. But the big difference in Brightspot is that to send to Roxen, so like once it's ready for print, then I'm going to scroll down and there's this send to print button. There will be a drop down for the date that you want it to send to print for. Otherwise, it's just going to send it essentially like for today. So if you want it to be sent for Saturday's edition, then you can put in Saturday's date and do it that way. So then when you hit that, then it'll give you a message that either things went well or things did not go well. And then you can go into Roxen and the story will be here in the standard view. I will send you all soon a Roxen like links you can get into it. Just not doing it quite yet. So then when you're looking at the story here, there's a bunch of categories that we have. So here's the pulled quotes that were in the story. Here's the main text of the story. So we'll be able to go through and edit, so if for print, we don't want this link, we can, sorry, I don't only click the link to do it. We can break that link so that it doesn't appear in print as a link, things like that. We're working on the bullets so that those show up properly, things like that. And then we will also be able to make some changes to things in here. So for example, if this should be in the tagline field, then we can put it up here. There's a bunch of different fields up here. So print footer, intro is what we call subhead. There's the headline, kicker, if it's going to jump, then we can select here what the jump tag should be. And then in this down here, again, this is just a really fast overview. I'm going to have better information later, but then all of the images will be here, and then we'll be able to click on it, and we can edit the caption and the photo credit here. If we want to upload a different one, edit it, crop it, you know, whatever, we can do that. Oh, didn't want to do that. So, well, just, you know, there's a bunch of things that we can do in here to edit things. Once the story is ready for that, then, I'm so sorry, my dog is losing it. Then we would change the status of the story. Oh, sorry, I want to click on the story before I do that. So then the status would be, you know, in production. So we would know that it was ready. Then we would go over here to the page. We did in Page Composer. And then, so you have the story that you just went through, and, you know, you changed your headlines and everything. And then you can just pick which template we have best fits what you're looking for. So right now we don't have a lot of our templates in. So I'm just going to grab this one. So sorry. Then place and apply. So then it will insert some of this stuff from in here. As you can see, my headline was dominated. So, but then we'll be able to, you know, we can change the headline size here. Then if we apply, you can see that the French toast is smaller than it was. You know, we can make it even smaller. So we'll have a bunch of options for changing that kind of thing in here. I don't have anything in here right now, but we will be able to put our libraries in here. So we'll still have our libraries and still have access to those items and be able to place those on the page. And then this we'll be able to, you know, change it to be able to get the whole story in and stuff like that. So, so the big difference for us will be that a lot of the refining of stories, especially when it comes to things like headlines, is going to happen. Let me zoom in here. So you can see this headline, you know, obviously the main head needs to be larger and the subhead needs to be much smaller. So we would be doing that instead of in here, we would do that in this view. You know, we'd go into the text and we'd, you know, change this so it's better and make that smaller. So it would happen in here instead of on the page. I can't see your faces or anything, so please interrupt me if I'm not making sense. I can't see who just raised their hand, so go ahead.
Oh, this is Mary. I'm wondering if the way this function works, if that will change, like if a page designer feels like they're stuck with a headline that just doesn't work. Like a lot of times they would just send it to proofing and, you know, just fix it in proofing. Would this require that they get that straightened out before they send it to proofing? Or?
Generally, yes. So the big change with this is that kind of as you guys can see, a big part of what we're doing as we prep the article is setting up the design elements for it. So setting up, you know, the pull quotes, making sure the headlines are correct, things like that. So we're going to make a big change in how we operate, and that is going to be that the hub design and pod jobs are essentially going to merge. So people are going to be able to do this entire process. So take the article from the site, bring it into Roxen, edit it as needed in Roxen, and get it onto the page. Obviously, we have a spectrum of skills on our team, and so we're going to have a spectrum of what that job looks like. Some people some people will be working more on design and just focusing on, covers and CPs and things like that. And some people will be focusing more, on the other end of the spectrum, like on proofing the pages once they're done. So when there is a headline issue, it's going to be the same person working on it. And it's part of the reason that the jobs are being combined, because it's the way the Roxen system is set up. It felt really redundant, and like there would be a lot of back and forth for it to be two people working on that piece of things.
So it's kind of going back to how it used to be with a copy editor having design skills and doing the paginating.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And I know that not all of you right now, probably none of you feel comfortable all the way across the spectrum from beginning to end of all the pieces of that. And I know that, and that's totally fine. We're going to work on trainings to make sure that we all can handle all of the pieces. And then again, based on skills and preferences, there's going to be kind of a spectrum of how we're going to work. After this meeting, I'm still finishing it, but after this meeting, I will send you all a form where essentially I want you to kind of tell me what you feel like, what areas you feel strongest in, what areas you feel like you're going to need some more training, where on the spectrum you'd prefer to fall. Some schedules are going to have to change with this. There's really no way around it. So I'm going to ask some questions about what you prefer in scheduling, things like that. I can't guarantee to give you what you asked for, but I want to make sure that I'm taking all of your requests into account as we're doing that. So, yeah, Lily?
So I know there was talk about layoffs and stuff with this. Will any of the answers on that sheet influence how we would look for if we get let go or not?
No. Nope. No, it's not going to be about that. This is like really just a tool for me to kind of address scheduling once we get to there. And no, I'm not going to look at your answers and make decisions about your employment based on that.
So do you have a date when we may know what that looks like for us?
I don't have a solid date yet. I am hoping to have answers for all of you by the end of the month, because I know that this limbo is crappy. So that's the goal by the end of the month. Okay. Yeah, Steph?
So after these pages are completed by whoever does the page, does it still go into like a centralized queue for someone to proof before it gets sent off to print?
It's not exactly a centralized queue. Well, I guess it kind of is. Sorry. So within Roxen, there is a view that kind of just looks like page dummies, and the colors of the frame around each page are color coded for whether, somebody still needs to work on that page, ads still need to be verified, things like that. And there's one color that says that it's ready for proofing. And so the whoever is proofreading that day will be able to look at the stuff that's due that day and see based on color what needs to be proofed so that they can proof it. With that proofing, a lot of it will probably be, making that change within Roxen so that the page stays in that page composer thing in Roxen that I just showed you. But we do have the ability for any page to open it up in InDesign and make changes there if that is what we need to do. So. More questions on that? Okay. I want to go through some of the questions that I got from all of you so I can make sure I answered these. Headline sizing, we can change a little bit, as I showed you. That's kind of the limit of the flexibility that we have. With the new system, we're also not going to be able to change tracking or letting. So This does mean that our new style is going to include some more white space than it did before. You know, sometimes at the headline, there's going to be a little more white space at the end. And then we're also not going to force justify the end of story. So sometimes there's just going to be a little bit of white space there. And that is going to be allowed under our new system. I did get several questions because the video that I sent you all was like Workflow Team 3 or something like that was the name of the meeting. And people asked if there was a 1 and 2. 1 and 2 were just us sitting there going like, well, what color should it be if it's ready for proofing? What color should we label the story? You know, it was not, it was not anything that really affects any of you or your jobs or anything like that. So I'll spare you sending you the video. A lot of our design rules are going to stay the same. The new styles are based on Rochester styles, just with some different fonts, like we discussed. So it's going to be a lot of those rules. We just had to change some of our fonts because of some different font rules. As we discussed before, Nimrod will stay the body font for Rochester, and that will become the body font for all the rest of us. So one thing to make us all happy. And then we're going to change some things. For example, column sigs. Right now we do a column sig for everybody and their brother. We're not going to do that anymore. It's going to be people who work for us or write columns regularly, and then some elected officials. So if Joe from the County Water Council writes a column, we're not going to make a sig for Joe the water guy. Like it's an inefficient use of our time. Let's call it that. So we're not going to do that anymore. We've got some other changes that are going to be along similar lines. Instead of having standing heads and labels, we're just going to have labels to simplify some things. We've got some other things going. If any of you have specific thoughts on that, do let me know. We are going to have training. Right now, our first training is scheduled for May 3rd at noon. So if you guys want to all put that on your calendar, I know that not all of you work at that time, but I will need all of you to be in that training. That's going to be an incredibly important training. And so you can work with your team leader to figure out if that's going to be extra hours for you, if you want to cut some other hours elsewhere in your week, if you're not working then. But that's when we'll be doing that. And again, that's going to be an incredibly important training. So plan to be into that. And then from there, we're going to have some time that we can all just kind of work with the system, make sure that we understand things, have some small group trainings on different things. The form that I'm going to ask you to say what your comfort level with different things is. That'll help us know like how much training we need to provide you on those different things so that you can do things. And then once we start, we will be starting over the course of about 6 weeks. So a few pubs a week, sort of like what we did when we rolled out the pod, that it was just, a few at a time instead of trying to dump everything in all at once. So, yeah.
Will we still be working in these different groups, like Northern group, North Dakota group, stuff like that?
That's something that we still kind of have to figure out. And, something I'd like all of your opinions on. To my mind, I'd really like to do that as much as possible, just because I think it's easier to handle a publication if you're more familiar with it, and doing it as a group makes it easier to do that, to be more familiar with it.
I agree with that too. And like you kind of form relationships with your editors as well. And so they like feel comfortable talking to you about certain things. And yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that being able to have that relationship with editors and stuff is something that I'd really like us to be able to keep. Mary asked when the rollout is going to happen. We don't have an official date set right now. We're looking at sort of the latter part of May or beginning of June right now. So I'm hoping that, in the next few weeks, we get things more set so we can tell you for sure what that's going to look like. But right now it's still a bit nebulous. It's around that time. Yeah, Emily.
I just have another question. It does sound like with the workflow that both like designers and pod editors will be doing like more work on top of what we're already doing. Is there going to be talk about like raises with this since we'll be doing more work than we're doing now?
I don't know that we'll be able to have raises right away. I absolutely, I always ask for raises, but I can't always get them. There will be, different work, but especially initially, people won't be handling as many pubs as perhaps a pod editor is used to now. And there are things that we're building in that are going to help make it more efficient. So I'm hoping that overall, once we're in it and people are feeling more comfortable with the system, that it isn't going to feel like more work. But in terms of money, I can't make any promises about that. I would absolutely love to give you more money, and I will certainly ask, but especially when we're talking about layoffs for some people, it's hard to have that discussion at the same time. So, yep, Steph.
What is the role of these individual papers in this? Is that pretty much the same for them? And what has been their reaction to this?
I have not talked to all of the publications about kind of the full breadth of what we're doing right now, because we just sort of figured out more of like what the jobs are going to look like, things like that. I've had a little bit of talks with them, and they're more kind of like, okay, they need to know more before they have much of a reaction. But the plan right now is for them to essentially do what they are doing. So they will put together their content list, and then whoever is their person will take things from the content list. And instead of, right now, the pod editor takes from the content list and creates a budget that the designer then uses. Now somebody will just take it from the content list and make those pages. Like Mary said, sort of similar to what we used to do, where we had a list of what to get in the paper, and then we just worked on it on our own and took the initiative from there instead of having page by pages.
Okay, then one other quick design question, since
Mhm.
this deals with templates, is there still room for like creativity in pages that are just formatted, or?
Yes. So, the templates are a starting point. And for some pages, basic inside pages, we're going to try best we can to just use those templates and just have the page set up like that. And then we can move on to other things. But, when we're talking about covers, unless it's really a time crunch and we just have no other option, I don't want us to be sending a cover that we haven't opened in InDesign and then worked on to make look better. We can use Roxen to place the story into a template for the CP that looks sort of like what we want. It takes up the space that we want, but then, we work on it personally to improve that design. And, my hope is that as we get more familiar with it, that these inside pages take less and less time so we can have more and more time to create great design on the pages that allow for that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. I hate the word template, and I wish they called these things something different, but, again, template doesn't mean no creativity. So, in terms of editors selecting skeletons for the front page, that was another question I got. We are not going to have them choose skeletons, but we will have them, if they choose to, just label, strip, CP, rail, just use those basic labels on things to tell you where they want things to go. Mary asked if the pod editor job is going away. The pod editor title is going away. Yeah. So I could use all of your help if anybody has a great idea. Overall, the way that we operate and what we do is changing. The functions of each of our job is changing, expanding. And so I would like us to rename our department, and then we can all have new job titles. So if you have an idea for a good department name, a good job title, I'm hoping that whatever my title is, it includes Darth. I think Darth Sternod is cool. I'd like to put that in my email signature. So any thoughts you all have on that would be great. So we're still going to be doing a lot of the same work. How we do it is going to look different, and what our job titles are going to look different. So I hope that answered your question, Mary. Yep, Cindy. Cindy, you're muted.
So you talk about the job titles, and that just brings up, we're going to fill out these forms of what our strengths are. I guess to me that sounds a little foreign because I'm not really getting a good understanding of what that, can you talk a little bit more about the different functions of our job, or,
Yep. Yeah. So essentially, kind of what the form is going to ask is, the functions of our job are going to include creative design, kind of more functional design, just like, yep, I made it on the page and it's clean. The budgeting, like taking stuff from the editor and taking care of that. Doing work on the wires. I know several of you have never done that, so I expect that you'll rate that, as like nope, I don't know how to do that. Proofing and copy editing is going to be another one. So it'll just be those pieces, so you can tell me like, yep, I feel comfortable with the design part of things, but I have no idea how to do anything involving the wires. Or, I can do the proofreading and the wires, but, I'm maybe not super comfortable with doing creative design. As you guys know, my score for creative design would be kind of down there. I'm only good if you want me to arrange 8,000 mugshots on a page. So it'll just be the pieces of that. And again, it's not going to be used as a tool to decide anyone's employment or anything to do with somebody's employment. It's just so we can figure out where everybody is in terms of comfort level on the different pieces of things. So we can make sure we get you the training that you need. So let me look at my list of questions too. So we will have libraries, so we'll be able to have, like our half column mug, stuff like that. There's a bunch more stuff that's kind of, it's more technical and into things than we need to go right now. But I think, we're in a good place as far as this transition, what we need to get figured out for it. We're moving forward. We're making a lot of momentum now. And so I hope to be able to have more updates for all of you soon to keep letting you know what's going on. Again, I know that it's not the easiest for all of you right now to be in your roles. I know there's a lot of uncertainty, and I understand that, and I wish there was something better I could do about it, but I'm just going to keep telling you everything that I can, everything I know for right now, and we'll just keep going. Other questions? Okay, as always, you guys know where to find me if you have more questions. I want to make sure that I do everything I can to answer things for you. One last thing that I'm going to note, because I've seen it a few times already and it's going to make my head explode, is April is not abbreviated. So please don't put APR period like in the moon phases and stuff like that, because then my head will explode and Michael will have to do all of my work. And I don't think he wants to do that. So, all right. Thank you all for everything. As always, you know where to find me. Let me know if you have other questions, anything you need. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you all.